I want to introduce you to somebody that I met a year ago, I think, about a year ago. I was giving a speech in New Jersey, and before I got up to speak, this young woman stood up. And I have to tell you, I don't think I mean, besides some of the Navy SEAL friends that I have and Special Forces friends that I have who are, I mean, they do stuff that I think, that's insane. I can't think of a private citizen that I think is more brave. Lila Rose is the president of Live Action. It is a pro-life organization that documents Planned Parenthood violations. But she started out in California. You were in California. You went to, I want to say, it wasn't UC Berkeley, was it?
UCLA.
UCLA. Okay. Still California. And you start on campus saying, hey, I want to talk to you about pro-life issues. That had to be very popular.
Well, surprisingly, Glenn, definitely there was some pushback, but the pushback at UCLA was more from faculty and yes, and from administrators and the students. You know, there was a vocal minority of students who were very for abortion, but most of the students wanted to hear the truth. And a lot of students were so pro-life and were so excited to hear that they could stand up for the lives of unborn children.
And you have no problem with somebody having a fair debate on both sides. I mean, for instance, before we get into the violations, and these will blow your mind, there's one place that I can't go as a dad, and it's just because I can't disconnect my heart from my head. You know, it's Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter. I don't know if anybody's ever read it, but you should look it up. It's great. It was a love letter, and it was an argument between my heart and my head. And, for instance, abuse from, you know, if you're raped or incest, I know it's a child, but it's also another child on the other end. And so I had this really hard time. You don't have a problem with having that debate with people, right?
We need to have that debate.
Right. And so there's no problem with having a debate. But the problem comes where nobody is talking about the actual abuses that are going on because of Planned Parenthood. Explain.
Well, first of all, let me say Planned Parenthood, the ultimate abuse of that organization, the biggest abortion chain in our country, is the victim of the unborn child, because they kill more unborn children, which are our most defenseless Americans in our country, over 300,000 of them a year. So that's the ultimate victim. But beyond that, you mentioned incest victims, and you mentioned rape victims, Glenn. And beyond that, a lot of those victims find their ways into Planned Parenthood's clinics. They're taken there often by their abusers. And then traffic victims. We have over 300,000 traffic victims in our country, children that are trafficked, sold for sex. And they find their way into these clinics, and they become victims too.
These are the same kind of people that we saw with Acorn, where you have a pimp go in and say, hey, I've got these underage kids, and they're coming in, and they did nothing. Here is, well, let me show you the map where there are violations from Planned Parenthood, things that people should go to jail. Here are the violations. There are 31 different locations. Let's pull up the different ones. Let's go to New Jersey first. Tell me a little bit about this video before we play it.
Sure. The video that we're about to see shows a Planned Parenthood manager in the second biggest chain of clinics in New Jersey advising our actors who are posing as human traffickers of 14 and 15-year-old girls and telling them how they can use the system, get cheaper abortions and birth control for the little girls to keep them on the street. This is part of our trafficking investigation, where we've released 7 different clinics showing Planned Parenthood willing to aid and abet the trafficking of little girls.
Here it is.
We're involved in sex work, all right? And there's some girls that we manage that we're not quite sure if I got it from one of them.
Okay.
All right, so they might need to come in here and get tested as well. Do you guys provide services for that? Some of them are young. They're kind of like, someone like 15, 14.
You know, me and my other counselor, like, for the most part, we want as little information as possible. Even if they lie, just say, oh, he's the same age as me, 15.
What if they need an abortion, though?
You never got this from me, just to make all of our lives easier.
Okay.
If they're 14 and under, just send them right there if they need an abortion. Okay.
Wow. What happened?
what happened. What you saw and what we saw again and again during our investigation is Planned Parenthood workers, from the manager to the practitioner to the staffer, they don't care about these young girls. They don't really care about these young women. They care about aiding and abetting these abusers and getting them secret abortions, secret birth control, and then sending these little girls back out the door.
And that person was fired, though, in New Jersey? After
Planned Parenthood called it a hoax and pretended it wasn't real, the pressure built, then they fired the first one.
Okay, let me play one more. This is Bloomington, Indiana. This is you, isn't it?
This is me posing undercover.
But while she could still get away with it, and I'll tell you that story in a minute. Watch.
How old are you?
I'm 13. And I act a lot older than I am, so it works out because he might be 31.
Okay. I didn't hear the age. I don't want to know the age.
So if I just say, I don't know who the father was, but he's one of the guys at school or something.
Right. Just, you know, you've seen him around, you know he's 14, he's in your grade and whatever.
What did you think when you saw somebody saying to a 13-year-old, hey, I don't want to know the 31 age?
Well, I remember being in that clinic acting as a 13-year-old, and when she said that, and I saw that again and again. I mean, we went to 10 different clinics for that project. We saw the same response, ultimately the cover-up of abuse. And my heart was broken because I heard an adult woman who was in a healthcare professional setting telling a little girl who's basically saying, I've been raped, you know, I'm a statutory rape victim, I'm a sexual abuse victim, telling her, I don't care, don't tell me anything. Oh, and then later on in the conversation, she talks about, is he going to pay for it? You know, this is how much it costs, and basically figuring it out so the little girl can get the pregnancy taken care of, send her right out the door.
Did they fire her?
They fired this one.
What about the other ones that you did?
All of the other ones remained. One of them resigned. The other 8 maybe still working there.
And because of this, they put your picture up like a wanted poster in Planned Parenthood, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what is that? Explain that story.
So they have my photo up in many of the clinics because of these investigations. As a brunette, they've had my photo up saying Lila Rose is doing these investigations. Since I was 18, they've had that photo up. I'm 22 now. So for that project that you just saw in that Indiana video, I bleached my hair to keep going undercover. They put up a blonde photo up next to the brunette, so now they're catching on to us, right? But the reality is I work with a team of talented young people from across the country, so we're still doing these investigative projects, and regardless of the fact that we've revealed this so many times over the years, they're still covering up abuse. They're not only covering it up,
that's because nobody in the media is really, I mean, this one has gotten more coverage than any of them that I have seen. Let me just ask you a question before we break, and that is this. If that was your 13-year-old daughter, is that how you would want another fellow citizen to respond? Back in a minute. We're back with Lila Rose. She is the president of Live Action, a pro-life organization that documents Planned Parenthood violations. She is on wanted posters in... Have you ever walked in and they've caught you at Planned Parenthood?
No, but I have walked in and seen my photo on the wall while I was undercover, and thankfully they did not recognize me. So that was pretty startling to see my face on their wall and posing as an underage girl, but they just went right ahead and covered up the sex abuse and definitely didn't notice that it was me.
How many people have gone to like a tea party or something in the last 2 years, or done something that's out of their comfort zone that you, because I've done a lot of stuff out of my comfort, stuff that I never saw myself doing, you know, just a few years ago, right? Okay. Most likely it wasn't putting a hidden camera in your bag and dressing up as a 13-year-old girl, and you, sir, would look good as a 13-year-old girl. Dressing up as a 13-year-old girl and going in, how did you do that? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, Glenn, we're talking about research that's been done for years in the pro-life movement and real cases, court cases, cases that have come up in the news of girls who've been sexually abused, taken to abortion Planned Parenthood clinics, and it's covered up. So when I started finding out about this when I was 18 and learning about it, being very active in pro-life work, working with a pro-life group, a pro-life club at UCLA, I thought we need visual evidence of this. So that's been a progression of trying to get that visual evidence. And at the end of the day, any risk or any fear or any getting out of your comfort zone to do this investigative work is worth it.